fathers will understand.
I told you he was an awesome dad.
Hey dudes, welcome back to Doodla. I'm Michael.
I'm John.
And we are joined by Laila from Learning to Mom podcast. Laila, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys. This is going to be a blast. I'm pumped.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. You and I go way back to the college days, standing on a soccer field, kicking the ball back and forth. And look at us. Now we're talking about being parents.
It is crazy, but it's so great to reconnect and see you just thriving in dadhood. It's great to witness.
Laila, tell us a little bit about Learning to Mom. We've got a bunch of dads here on our podcast that we mainly talk to guys. So we would love to get your perspective. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and kind of what you're doing over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Laila. It's nice to meet you guys. The host of the Learning to Mom podcast. So essentially, I inform first-time moms on pregnancy, birth, postpartum, and early motherhood without making them feel overwhelmed, judged, or belittled. And essentially, I was the first of my friends to become a mom. Didn't know friggin' anything. I'm sure you guys can relate.
Yeah. No kidding.
And I really big podcast listener, and I just didn't see anything that like gave the vibe that I wanted. Everything was either like motherhood sucks and parenthood is so hard, and just kind of talking about and complaining about the hardships for the sake of virality, or it was just like toxic positivity. And there wasn't really like talking about this is the reality of it. Here's how to overcome it. And nothing either that grew with me. I felt like I kept outgrowing all these podcasts. I'd find one that I really like in pregnancy, and then I'd be out of pregnancy, or I'd find one that I really liked in postpartum and then I'd be out of it. So this is the only podcast that grows with the listener. Season 1 is all about pregnancy and birth. And then season 2 is postpartum, baby's first year of life. Season 3 that's coming out in a few months is your baby's second year of life, and so on and so forth. So it grows with the listener. And essentially I'm the mom friend and I'm just the host. So I ask all the questions and I'm learning right alongside of my listeners, and it is an absolute blast.
That's great.
That's awesome. That's kind of, what we were thinking as we were doing this is there's just not a lot from that, the training side of it and the educational side. And like you said, there's a lot of people who just like say the bad things or like these like cliche good things, and being able to dive into the actual ins and the outs and the, day in and day out things because it's overwhelming to say the least as you get, thrown into this. And, John being overwhelmed with twins, that's a whole nother side of it. You expect one and then you see two, and it's just a different kind of overwhelm.
Yeah. You just got to sort of, part of you wants to just figure it out, but then you get 2 days in and you're like, I need help. I need advice. I need something.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'm sure that Laila, you probably have lots of advice or lots of learnings of maybe, what a partner should do throughout those early months. And I would love to hear some of that as we kind of get into this conversation a little bit, but maybe tell us a little bit more about you personally. We'd heard a little bit about the podcast. What's been your journey, even through pregnancy? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So starting at the beginning, have a story that's probably different than a lot of your listeners, as people in our generation and those listening specifically who are preparing for parenthood. I was not preparing for parenthood in any way. I really never thought I was going to become a mom. And this is a very unique episode, and I'm just going to call it out. I don't know how you feel, Colander, but this is the first time that I'm sharing this kind of heart story, this vulnerable story with someone that I know. It's almost like it's easier to say it when it's a stranger, right? When it's I can twist it, but I can say it in a way and whatever, but it's no, he knows me. And this is a part of my story that I'm not exactly proud of. So this is it's new for me. Okay.
Well, I am welcoming you with open arms, and that we are we go way back. So
yeah,
we know a lot of things, right?
So yeah, I never actually really wanted to be a mom. It was kind of one of those things that was maybe one day, with the right person, and just kind of inevitably, right? Marriage typically brings kids. I'd like to be married one day. Okay. But some girls are really born with this beautiful desire of motherhood from a very early age. And I just was not it. I even remember playing house, which is a game that you guys probably are not familiar with, nor are your listeners.
I had a sister. I played so much house. Listen, I got so good at like playing the baby or being
the dog
neighbor that would come in and make the mess that you'd have to clean up.
It's amazing.
I know house well.
That is hilarious. So even as a little girl, I had absolutely no interest in playing the role of pretend mom. Like that was just not something that I mean, literally that's like the only way that I can explain it. It was just never something that I wanted to do. So I was really thrown a curveball when my boyfriend and I, who had only been dating, I think for 9 months at the time, ironically, had been dating 9 months, we got pregnant. And growing up in a Christian home where I have a deep personal relationship with the Lord, that was something that statistically speaking really should not have happened. And we get pregnant and I was so embarrassed and I was so full of shame and guilt that I just really, really struggled in pregnancy. I suffered from prenatal depression, which is something that I do want to talk about today because it impacts 1 in 7 women. And so that's 1 in 7 spouses or partners of your listeners that are listening to this has a pregnant, depressed wife. And it is something that actually studies are showing. So right now it says 1 in 7, but studies are showing that it is actually impacting more women than postpartum depression. It's just that no one talks about it. And 2, the signs are a lot harder to find because they can be easily like, oh, you're pregnant. Like, oh, you're exhausted. That's because you're pregnant. You're crying all the time. That's because you're pregnant.
Right.
You're undergoing this, you're not finding joy in activities. That's because you're so preoccupied with the pregnancy, or you can't keep food down. You have no interest in eating. You're pregnant.
Huh.
Like it gets missed. But prenatal depression is something that I experienced, and a lot of women unfortunately do as well. And there's all these signs that whatever, you can be more likely to whatever. But the biggest one, at least when I finally saw this, and I actually didn't even know it was a thing until I was having a guest on my podcast, and she just mentioned offhandedly about prenatal depression. And I made a mental note and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of good to have somebody on to talk about that specifically. And then when I was doing the research for it, it was just all these light bulbs. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, I was every single freaking sign was what I had. And one of the biggest things that can impact you experience prenatal depression is a huge life change. Maybe a loss of job, or you're moving, or your spouse passes away, your parent passes away, whatever. So obviously a pregnancy out of wedlock is what did it for me. And I really, really struggled in pregnancy, but praise God, everything was normal and everything was fine. And we ended up choosing life and we ended up choosing each other. And so I was married 7 months pregnant and we welcomed our baby girl into the world 2 months later. And it's been just an absolute blast.
And you wouldn't change any of it now, right? It's the best.
It is the best. And that all brings me back to my first point where I never wanted to become a mom because I can't say first reason why I didn't have the interest when I was 7 years old. But as I grew, these ideas were just continuously reinforced in my mind. Parenthood sucks. It's not worth it. You're going to lose yourself. Kids aren't worth the hassle. And that was just constantly being reinforced to me, whether it be through media or whether that be through social media, Hollywood, you name it. And that was why I just even as a young person, I was like, yeah, no, thanks. Rather not. There's literally nothing else I'd rather do. And I think that's actually exactly why God had me get pregnant. How? Because I think I would have pushed off motherhood forever, not knowing the true reality of it. Because he knew what I would have been missing out on.
Yeah.
That's such a good way to look at it from that angle of it. And I think there's a lot of people out there, especially guys, I think, that are terrified of exactly what you were just saying, of the losing yourself, not being able to do what you want to do. And it's not a selfish thing, right? It is a very normal thing to be worried about, but then you just figure out a way to intertwine them into what you do, and you find new hobbies. But you still you don't lose yourself; you grow on yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, I went to going to the pool, for example. used to be really fun. This weekend, we realized that our pool was so busy, it had no place for toddlers. So we went and got one of those blow up pools. And it had 2 inches of water, and I let my little 8-month-old splash around. And I don't know, something about their like giggles and laughter and excitement over just a tiny little pool in our yard was
way better than sitting by a pool sipping a high.
I know. That's what I was thinking. Like last time I was by a pool, I was doing exactly that.
Well, you guys were kind of the same as Laila, where I remember when we met up in Wisconsin, you guys were like, no babies, not having kids,
never.
And then all of a sudden, a couple months later, you come back and hey, we're having twins. Whoa, all right.
I mean, we traveled, Laila.
So you guys were
living
living in Wisconsin, and then you found out you were pregnant, and you moved back home to Colorado.
Yeah, our families are here. We were gonna solo do it, like with one baby. We were gonna do it. We liked it out there, but then we found out it was twins. It was like, no, we need help. We need a family.
Yeah.
So like we got grandparents in the area, and so they're within half an hour, so it's easy.
And they wanted to come back to be close to us.
Yeah, so let's be honest, Colorado, we love it every second.
But yeah, I mean, I think that is a huge piece from a lot of other people that there is, and so like you're definitely not alone. You're not, like, I think it's honestly probably more, especially on the guy side of like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And you're not until like it happens.
Yeah.
What
and it's
was
hard
it like
too to like. Sorry, no. Ask away.
Your husband, then boyfriend. What was it like for him? Like, I'm sure you've got to.
Gosh,
get his perspective.
This is like, oh gosh, I don't know how deep are we getting here. No, just honestly, I think it was through that experience where it was like, no, this is really the man that I want to marry, that I'm supposed to marry. I remember once we got married and then once we got engaged, we were in prenatal counseling at church, and someone said most people choose who they want to marry based on who they want to date and like have fun with for the rest of their life. But you need to pick someone who you want to suffer with for the rest of your life. And like seeing Matthew, right. And just watching Matthew and how he handled, like, I mean, he wasn't trying to be a dad either. And we were young. Like, I'm young. He's only 2 years older than me. So he was still young. And watching him just handle it all with grace and compassion and just like taking me in and really allowing me to feel all the feels, because there's pregnancy emotions, but then obviously ours was like heightened. I mean, he handled it like a freaking champ. No complaints.
10 out of 10.
What was, from your perspective, right? So like for our listeners, what is one thing that you think was most important thing that he did during that time?
I think be emotionally present for me there. And there was a lot of nights, and I know this is like very specific because a lot of people are yearning for a child and like are crying because it's not happening. And so I guess, actually this could apply to then too, like just holding her while she is crying in bed, like just literally just holding her. You don't have to say anything. I know you feel awkward and you're like, I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. You just need to wrap your arms around her.
Yeah. There were a couple times with my wife where it was like, I don't know what to say. You just need to get it all out. And this, you're feeling uncomfortable and this sucks and I can't do anything for you. So I'm not there. I don't know.
Yeah. And that comes back again in postpartum too. When postpartum is like just survival of the freaking fittest out there.
Yeah. It gets crazy. Yeah. I think that's something that is underrated, is just the being there when they need you, and you just like, you don't force anything, but like just be there, right? Like that's what
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, because you want to fix, you want to help,
right.
You want to be able to see some positivity behind, like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to make it worse.
Let me tell you,
that's why you don't have to say anything. You just got to be there. But I think that's the thing about pregnancy and postpartum. From a woman's perspective, it is so incredibly isolating. Like, it is, you already like, you find out you're pregnant and you're already having to make life changes. Meanwhile, your husband is still having incredible golf days with his buddies for 8 hours on the golf course, but you're throwing up in the toilet for those 8 hours. Like your diet is already compromised. You're the one with the changing body and the stretch marks from the moment that you become pregnant. And so you already feel so isolated. And even in the small moments too, of like, oh, you're going to a friend's house and you might not be throwing up, but like the very small little thing that you just can't drink alcohol. I don't know why, but I like am not a big drinker, but when I'm pregnant, that's the only time I ever want to drink, right? Because I just think it's like, it just feels so isolating to not be. Yeah, exactly. And so I think being able to emotionally feel like you're one with your partner makes the world of a difference when they're just present, because it can feel so isolating and like you just need your partner there.
Yeah, I guess I think through that, but I guess I never thought all the way through it with all the isolating stuff. I knew like you don't have your clothes start not fitting, and like from that side of it, and the frustrations there, but like from day one and how much it changes, and like you said, we don't necessarily have to change. I probably ate more ice cream post 8:00 than I had before, so I changed a little bit on that. So there are some things that I was able to get on board with from that side.
I'm now rethinking some of the things that I did during pregnancy. Like, oh, should I have gone and done that fun thing? It's like, what's the balance there?
No, it's not about making your life just as miserable. It's just making sure that she feels supported in her misery.
Make it a little less miserable. So if you're going to do something, make sure that she has her.
I always brought home food. I always brought home food.
Yeah, you gotta come home with something. You can't come home empty.
Never come home empty.
You can't come home saying you're tired or something. Even now, if you leave, like, you got to come home ready to rock and roll.
There's that moment.
Like, baby,
right before I go through the door, I'm like, all right, got to get amped up
for an extra 30 seconds, slap around the neighborhood to like amp yourself up.
It's totally so true.
You got to lock it.
And meanwhile, we're tracking your location. He's doing a second lap.
That's exactly right. You're not wrong.
Like, why did he turn right? He needed to turn left there. He better be going to the store to get me something.
He doesn't need gas. I filled it up the other day.
That would be false. We never fill it up.
You're true. That's true.
Right through us, John. We're screwed.
Oh, man. So good. Well, thank you for sharing your story, Laila, in those bits and pieces. I know it's real and it's heavy and hard, but it's so needed. We need to hear those things, and to know that even through pregnancy, because you're right, we hear about postpartum all the time, and the fourth trimester, and like prepare. I got told all the time, like, get ready as soon as that baby comes. Like, it's going to get hard. Get ready. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll prepare. But it's good to know, hey, there are ways. One, you should just be loving your partner all the way through the process as best as you can, and showing up and being available as best as you can throughout the whole thing. But it's really good to hear your perspective, and even those statistics are really powerful.
And honestly, I'm surprised it's not more than, like, I'm surprised it's not more than 1 in 7, but it's also surprising how little it's talked about. Right?
That's the thing. Yeah.
There's so much of
really
the
not talked about.
Negative side, not negative, just the hard sides of pregnancy and parenthood. People talk about the extreme hard things, or like you said, the like viral things, but no one talks about like the actual emotional hard things, or the just like process of it. And so thumbs up to you for
excellent.
For doing it.
Talk to me about.
It's so hard, and it's like such a balance, because we also, I've been on the other side where like I was that next generation of mothers that was being scared out of motherhood. So I do think, like there is a balance. Like my older sister became a mom after I did. And there were many times where she was like, I can't believe you didn't tell me about da 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 da. And I was like, why would I? Like, that was not going to serve you then.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know. There's just some stuff, like there is a balance.
Totally. There are some things that are just like, well, and some things you don't know too, right? Like, both of our wives had C-sections, so neither of us know what like the actual labor side of things look like. We planned for labor, and then we had an emergency C-section. So like, there's a whole side of it that we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But then also there's a whole side of it, from people who have natural births that don't understand the C-section side of it and the NICU side and
recovery and all of that.
Yeah, like the recovery side from C-section is, dads, if your wife's having a C-section, buckle up. Those first 2 weeks.
It is not the easy way out.
No.
Not the easy way out. It is.
I mean, there's recovery no matter how you slice it, but like, sorry, that was a bad pun.
That was tough.
Tough, real tough there. But it's hard no matter how you do it. Like, but you still have to show up.
Yep, exactly.
But on that note, isn't it insane what they expect you to do after a major abdominal surgery? They're like, it was like 8 hours, and Viv, they were like, all right, Viv, get up. Yep. It's time to go.
Your baby's like, it's like you just sliced it open on the operating table, but now you got to function like a normal human.
A mom.
Yep.
A superhuman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I can really get on my little like feminist soapbox. So I'll just leave it at that with be like, I agree.
I agree. Well, I want to change gears a little bit because there's one thing that we had kind of talked a little bit about, but it's around this idea of like who carries the biggest mental load when it comes to mothering, fathering, parenting. Do you feel like moms carry more of the mental load, and if so, like then how are the dads supposed to come in and help and support, and what are we supposed to do with that?
I understand. And it's something that I try to talk to my audience about because I think, and I'm going to get canceled by all the feminists. I'm going to get canceled because I think it's also on us. Like, yeah, you don't trust your husband alone with the baby because you're micromanaging him when he changes the diaper and you're still in the room. Like, but I do think that there is a point where it's like, I mean, we handle the doctor's appointments and we handle the extracurricular activities and all that stuff. But even like when it starts and you think back, like, obviously our 2-month-old isn't having extracurriculars, but like, do you know how to warm up the bottle? And do you know how to schedule the baby's doctor's appointment? Do you know how often the doctor's appointments is? Do you know what vaccines they're going to talk about at the next appointment? Do you know when the baby last pooped? Do you know when the baby last fed? Like all this kind of stuff. But I think that they can come together. But I do feel like a lot of it is honestly on the females for just like relinquishing control.
Mm.
Yeah, it is. And it's crazy how much it's changed too, right? Because, back when our parents were, parenting us, a lot of it was the guys went to work and the women, took care of the babies. So they knew when the last feed was. Like I talked to my dad and he's like, my dad is literally the best. And he's like, I didn't do, like I talked to him about what I did. He's like, I did not do that. Like, I think it's, like we're talking about, like, there's this shift now where guys are seeing like, hey, I need to be as involved as, my wife is. But it's hard too, right? Because like, as you're saying that, like, I don't know when the doctor's appointments.
I was thinking like, when is the
But see, then that's the other thing though, like, then just Google it, gentlemen. Like what do you think we're doing?
No, well,
and like while you're watching,
you don't have like super motherly, superpowers that just know it's 6'9", 6'9", 12.
I think you're wrong.
I just get this intuition that they're going to talk about this at the next doctor's appointment. But I also know that your audience is trying and is doing, like, I think this conversation would sound very differently if it wasn't here on this platform. Because other guys really do need a kick in the pants. But the fact that you're listening to this, that you're preparing for parenthood, that you really want to know it all, like, and you're feeling like you're still left out of the equation, it might be time to really speak to your wife about like, hey, I am trying. I'm literally listening to dad podcasts. Help me, like help me. Gotta let go of some control.
I mean, to the diaper changing one, like that just kind of resonated with me. Viv and I had a funny moment where she's just like, why are you feeding her, or why are you changing her diaper that way? Because I apparently am left-handed when I change a diaper, and
the other way.
And so she's like flipping the babies. And so she was like, you need to start flipping. I'm like, no, they're fine.
All does the same thing.
It's all good.
I wonder if it was like the nurse in the hospital that taught you how to change a diaper, who like
maybe.
showed it to you.
Maybe.
Could have been.
Yeah. They were in the NICU for 6 weeks. So I was just listening to whatever those doctors said.
I mean, the nurse in the hospital is who taught me how to change a diaper.
Yeah. It was the first one.
I got told I was one of the better dads that changed the diaper, but that's because
You've had experience.
Care and I had experience. And so they're like, do you know how to change? Can I walk you through to change a diaper? And I was like, watch this. Wow. So I came in with a little different background than most dads.
A little different.
But I also do think that there's a different mindset for guys, that we're not necessarily thinking about those little small things. I think a lot of guys kind of think more on the big picture side of things, maybe.
I agree.
And like we see more of the, like, I don't know, and I don't know.
How is this shaping them into a person?
Yeah, I don't really have an example of it right now, but like, I don't necessarily think guys have the like granular thinking to like think, okay, what are they going to be talking about at the next doctor's appointment? Like, I think a lot of guys are like reactive to like, okay, we're going to talk about this. This is what we need to do. Not necessarily preparing.
I'll go do my research after I talk to the doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Not necessarily to go.
Yeah.
To it. Maybe that's just me, but I think that's kind of how a lot of guys, maybe we're just more reactionary, and you guys are maybe more on the planning side of it.
I think
there probably is
an interesting take though, is like, if you're not on it with your kid, then it like reflects bad on the mom. Like in terms of like if there is a family, okay, and let's say they just really don't have their crap together, they all go in the doctor's office. It is, the responsibility is placed on the mom to know her crap. Whereas like, it's totally fine. The dad could take the kid in the doctor's office, and the doctor would be like, you don't know why your son is experiencing diarrhea for 2 weeks. And the dad would be like, oh, and they'd be like, you're still a great dad. Whereas like the mom would be in huge trouble,
Yeah.
So I think there is this pressure on us that is not put on the dads.
And that's so true. Like, we've talked about how when we're in public,
a dad bias,
it is insane. He and I, when the twins were probably, I don't know,
2 months old,
2 months old, we took the dogs and we both strapped the babies to our chest.
Did they think you guys were a couple?
Yeah, I think.
we walked to the Starbucks like a mile down the road, just like took dogs on the walk. And I think we had 3 people come up to us outside of Starbucks and be like, you guys are awesome. But like, if our wives were there, they wouldn't have said a single thing to them. And I'll be in the grocery store. Like, when I first had Riley, I was picking up a couple of things in the grocery store, and someone came up to me and she's like, you are doing a great job. I'm like, I'm pushing a stroller. like the baby is asleep. Like you don't know what's going on, but like, I'm not doing literally anything. The baby's just sleeping. But there is this weird, like you're saying, like this bias where the mom is expected to have everything perfect, and if the dad is doing a mediocre job,
just bare minimum, it's somehow okay. Yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah, and I think, just on this topic, I think where a lot of women struggle is when we're also working, and it cuts into our leisure time. And I think that I'm just going to tell it like it is. That is why you are having all of your fights, gentlemen. It is because you have more leisure time than she does. Like, that is truly the issue. It is when you sit down and you are putting your feet on the ottoman and you get to watch your show while she's researching the next doctor's appointment, or she's emailing the daycare worker, or she's restocking the daycare bag. Like, that is where the issues lie. It is in the discrepancy of leisure time.
Yeah.
So if you can pick up like the mental load of the tasks and stuff to help her get more leisure time, you're going to be much happier.
From our perspective, right? Like, if we can't think through some of that stuff, right? Like, then it's, hey, I'm going to clean all the bottles. I'm going to make sure the bag is packed. Or like, close to, right? Like she may come back and check you later just to make sure.
But then that's on her, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because then that's that micromanaging side of it you were talking about. But so maybe that is what we do is like, if we can't do the mental side of it, do the physical side of it and make sure the house is picked up, make sure the dishes are done, make sure bottles are done, and make sure her pumps are ready to go upstairs when she's got a pump or, whatever.
Yeah. I think that feels manageable to me to own all the physical tasks and own the house and do all of those things. Because the calendars and the schedules and all that, it starts to overlap. And I'm like, wait, I had a work call. Yep. Did I schedule their appointment on a work? It just it blends. And I see this strain though. Yeah. And to your point of like no leisure, I mean, that's been our story is like, okay, we carve out as soon as they go to bed, like, all right, let's phones down and chill for just a minute and like because like it's never ending. All of the things, it all just keeps going and going and going. So I think there is this element of if you have a teammate in the trenches, even if it is a lot of stuff, like taking dinner to lay that aside for a minute could be huge. It's been big for us.
So what would be like a good leisure time thing for like go up and take a bath? Or are you guys going to sit on your phone and look at stuff? Or I know that I know every girl is going to have the different like hobby or whatever, or like different way of calming down. But is there something that you're like, all of us would enjoy this, or all of us would enjoy this? Like, is it, hey, I'm going to take the kid on a walk for 30 minutes and you just get to sit and be away?
That sounds literally like a dream.
What are those things?
Anything and everything. But I do think that it's less about like, let me do da-da-da-da so that she can do specifically X. I think it's less about that. And it's more so like, let me just give her time to scroll. And I know that sounds so lame, but I think truly like when I think about the times where I'm so annoyed at my husband, it's like because he's getting to watch his YouTube videos and I don't even have the leisure to dumb out or numb out on my phone, which I don't agree with. And I don't think that's healthy. But it's just the very simple, like, I don't even have time to like watch a freaking stupid video and be mad that I wasted the time.
Yeah. That's so good.
That makes sense. Because sometimes, I'll be like,
that's so good.
We'll get in bed and I'll be like, hey, like, let's just not scroll. But my wife, her guilty pleasure is like 10 minutes of TikTok.
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes of TikTok. And sometimes I'm like, dude, you've been on TikTok. But like you're saying, that is the time for her to just decompress, and it's a good thing.
And carving out some space for that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
I'm not saying that it's healthy. I don't think we should all be scrolling. But I think that it's just like really annoying when it's like, oh, he gets to watch his freaking videos and I don't because I'm managing XYZ. But that's all it comes down to, which is so stupid. But like, if we really look at it, gentlemen, that is why we're fighting. That is why a lot of our fights are happening.
Well, and as your parents said growing up, like life isn't fair, but there is a way to try and make it fair, right? And it's never going to be equal. And unfortunately, it probably will never be equal between the workload that the women have versus the men. But there's a lot of things I think that, you have said that we can help take from.
Yep. It's great. That's really good. Well, I think we can kind of move along here a little bit. We've got a couple other topics that we wanted to hear a little bit from you. Like, what are you guys talking about on your podcast right now? Like, what's the most like prevalent topic of conversation? And then maybe hit you with a couple of rapid fires before we wrap up.
So fun. I do, before we get into that, on the theme of like what husbands need to know, I don't know how to insert this anyway, like anywhere very seamlessly. So I'm just going to insert it.
Let's do it.
And I think it's really beneficial, but your listeners are unique listeners. Here they are. They're listening to Dad Podcast. They're doing their research. What I see so often from my listeners, and what I have honestly seen used to see a lot more before we had a come to Jesus moment about it, is when husbands will take a stance on a parenting topic. It does not matter what it is. It might be what foods you're serving the baby for their first solids. It might be their nap times. It might be, I don't know, the diaper brand. Like, it literally does not matter on any topic. And the husbands will take a really strong stance, and they have this claim, even traditionally, or maybe from a more Christian upbringing, like, I'm the head of the house, this is my stake, or even just without that, and just being like, hey, I'm 50% of the parent here of our journey. Like, I get a stake in the claim. It all comes down to, have you read any blog posts on this topic? Have you read any books on this topic? Have you listened to any podcast episodes on this podcast specifically? And I think that's what we are running into, we as women, or as moms. And that's why we sometimes get really frustrated with our partners, is when they take a really strong stance. And it's just like, this is just how you feel. Meanwhile, speaking of mental load, I've devoted 3 hours of my leisure time researching this to figure out that this should be our baby's first food.
Yeah. No,
so good.
I saw that.
Had that conversation.
This is making the registry. Like, this is it. Like, what you're saying is, when you're making the registry, because there were a lot of times I was like, we don't need that. And then I kind of got the, like, you know, those eyes, the, like, I'm scared of you.
Just giving you guys.
Yeah, those. And it was the same thing. She was like, you know, it was like, I've talked to people, I've read things, like, we need this. And there have been a couple things like this, the wipe case that is, like, weighed down. I was like, that's stupid. Don't need it. It's fantastic.
I love your wipe case.
It is great.
Whenever I come
it is
over
great.
to your
And you can
house,
buy
I'm
the
like,
wipes
oh,
in
man.
bulk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Buy the wipes in bulk. It lowers the price.
Yep.
There's so many
Put 'em
pros.
in there. And so, like,
Especially if you have
know,
two.
I am saying, Abigail, you were correct. The weighted wipe thing was worth the whatever.
Seconded.
So, yep. Worth. So yes, what you were saying. There's a lot of things, and like, not that I don't care about my kid, but I don't know. I don't really care enough to look at all of these brands and research where you guys do, like that. You guys take pride in being prepared enough, and, like, having the best thing for a kid, which I appreciate a lot.
Yeah, I think there's a both. It's a both, where it's like, yeah, you can have your opinion, but you can also bite your tongue because you know that she did the research. And there's leeway there to have a dialogue,
Totally.
Of course. Like, you know, okay, yeah, I know that we're supposed to give them this solid, but what if after we transition to this way? And by the way, I read a couple of blog posts and learned that if we cut it this way, it'll be safer so they don't choke or whatever. Like adding something to the mix if you feel passionate about a thing, I think is huge. Like, I want to take our kids, like, hiking more. And she's like, well, did you research if their like necks are sturdy enough to be able to do that? And I'm like, well, I read that after 6 months they should be okay. And she's like, great, thank you at least saying something. And now let's talk about how we can do some hiking. So it's like a blend of both. But the first time I brought up hiking, she was like, they literally are not, it's not safe to do that. What are you talking about? So I had to go learn.
We're learning.
Had to go learn.
Yeah, we're learning quickly.
Learning from people like Laila.
Yes, that's right.
No, but I wanted to put that in there. I didn't know how to seamlessly do it. So
that's great.
No, that was good. We inserted it in, and we're set and ready to. I mean, but it's a very good point, and that is from the get-go, right? Like, there's a lot of things from the start of pregnancy that is very relatable. It's not even just solids. There's just a lot of things that women read up on. I
just feel like emotionally in pregnancy, it's a little tricky because, like, oh, you're going to tell me that I can't eat da 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 da.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware I shouldn't be eating this pint of ice cream. Shut up. You know, like, you try having a baby inside of you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like, good point around the baby registry, but on a logistical standpoint, makes me a little nervous for young dads to hear that and then be like, oh, let me research. You have to have an unmedicated birth because it's the way to go. Imagine telling that to a woman in the throes of labor asking for the epidural.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in pregnancy that just like zip your lips and
Exactly.
just let it happen.
Exactly. But it is
figure it out later.
Exactly. It is never too late though. If your baby is 12 months old and you haven't done this before, you can start picking up your weight? What's the expression? Carrying your weight.
Carry your own weight.
Yeah.
Do you have a resource that you think dads should read, or like a book, or is there anything that you think? And if you say, I don't know, that's a perfectly fine answer as well.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I just think that it for sure goes to show, like, you guys have good hearts. You're here, you're listening to this. I think the easiest way is literally how do you learn? Like, are you a podcaster? Then literally type in introducing solids and listen to some podcast episodes. Or if you're a YouTuber, type that same search into YouTube.
Yeah, it's great.
Makes a lot of sense because you can get stuff pretty quick. The internet's a great thing. If you haven't seen it before, Google's pretty cool.
Because I don't think it really matters. Like, your wife doesn't really care where the information is from. It's more of like, just, are you pulling your weight? Are you doing any research?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
right?
And here's if with your first kid, nobody really knows what they're doing.
Nobody.
So we're all just kind of
winging it.
Making it up the best that we can based off what we hear. So that's another huge piece of it is your wife is stressed out to the max because she's scared she's gonna screw up the kid doing something, right? But we're all okay. We're all okay. Our parents were doing the same exact thing.
Isn't that Google. Crazy? No, it's crazy to me when you think back and you're like, you just have these visions or these when you're little and you just thought that your parents were these adults who
they
had it all together.
No idea.
Yeah, and now you're like, wait, you were my age? You didn't know anything.
Yep. Our parents, everybody fakes it till they make it. No one knows what they're doing. Because then when you got two, you still don't know what two is going to be.
Because you're still a first-time mom.
It's still this whole thing. It's new all the time, and no one actually knows what they're doing. Some just fake it better than others.
I was showing my mom one of the apps that we use. It's Solid Starts. It's the one that tells you how to cut all the stuff up.
I love it. I've deleted almost all of my apps to reduce my screen time. Solid Starts still on there.
It's a great one. And I was like, Mom, look at this cool innovation to teach us how to have our kids not choke. And I was like, what was the cool thing 30 years ago when you were a mom? And she goes, and she's like, well, we got cell phones and that made being a parent way easier because we could call each other and communicate. I was like, oh my God, we are parenting in different eras.
We were at a wedding this weekend talking about my wife's cousins. All of us have kids there's one that just turned 1 and one that's 5 months or 6 months and mine's 5 months. And they were talking about, we're like, yeah, we may need to go. I don't know if we have enough milk. I'm like, oh, just give her water. No.
Who said that? Who said that?
A whole bunch of moms from that were our parents' age. I guess
what?
They just fed us water when we were young. Some people just fed us water.
At least it wasn't honey. I learned.
I was about to say that.
I tried to get Riley a little bit of honey, and my wife was like, "No." Laila, I didn't read.
But I still don't really understand why.
I don't either.
It's the word is botulism or something.
Yes.
But I'm but what is that? But I'm I don't care. I have other things to be Googling that I need to know about. I just know don't do honey. Exactly. Yeah. You get it.
Yeah, no honey, no water, just,
Viv wanted to drive to the hospital parking lot to give them peanut butter for the first time. I was like,
I saw that in a reel too.
We did.
To each their own.
No, we got over it. Yeah. It was one of those overwhelming days, and you're like, I don't want to have an allergic reaction. I'm like, neither of us are allergic.
Can't live in fear though.
No,
that's
you can't.
Another thing. Can't live in fear.
It is an adventure.
Yep.
Okay. Laila, what's been your favorite part of being a mom?
Oh my gosh, how much fun it is. And yeah, no one tells you how much fun it's going to be. Everyone's like, oh, you'll love them more than life itself. And like, yeah, that's true. But I also genuinely have so much fun. I have
part of the fun is you get to just act like a kid. You don't have to act professional and say sincerely in an email or like correct grammar. Like you just get to be a kid. Like it is so much fun.
My kids aren't talking yet, but they are like blurbing constantly, and so I'm like, great,
spitting all the time.
Very easy to understand what you mean.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it is so much fun. Like I think I genuinely have more, like I am happier, more at peace. I have more joy in my life now than I did when I was 24 and young, corporate, single, living life.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like going to be my supreme happiness.
The pinnacle. Yeah.
So
how have you seen your husband change as a dad?
Oh, that's such a good question. That is so hard. How has he changed? It's kind of funny because I guess I don't know him that well outside of dadhood.
I guess you only got 9 months prior to dadhood.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been weird. We were together. Yeah. Yeah. We were together like 2 years prior to welcoming our daughter. But that's from like meeting, like from our first Hinge date.
Wow. Shout out to Hinge.
Hinge, hey, I'm in it too.
That's where you and Abs met?
Yep.
Wow.
Give us a plug. Hinge, send us some money.
We love Hinge. But no, dads are like, you guys are, I mean, you hear all the studies, right? Like an absent father is the most reliable statistic that your kid's going to end in jail and like all this stuff. But like, dads are so important. And going through parenthood with a partner that is 100% bought in, who is a safe place for both me and the kids, and who just loves us all so well. Like it is still so hard that I cannot imagine the women who do it without a husband. So just like what you guys are doing is so freaking important and your role matters.
No, I do have so much respect for single parents. Like, you're listening, like thumbs up.
Yeah.
Deserve
it's
all
great.
The cookies.
Amazing. Well, Laila, this has been a blast. Blast to get to know you, blast to hear about your story. Do you have anything you want to kind of leave us with as we kind of wrap up here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think my last words of advice would be like, if you just feel like you are not prepared for parenthood, if you're like scared out of your freaking mind because, your wife's due in 2 months and you don't know what you're doing, really my best piece of advice is just that like, it's all going to be okay. And you're supposed to be the father. Like you know what you know, it's going to be fine. And just take a chill pill. I wish I had like big, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to have this lasting word of advice and it's going to be so epic and it's going to be so profound. And mine is like, take a chill pill.
Take a chill pill.
I kind of love that, honestly, because the amount of panic and fear that I felt like leading up, it was like, but all of the prep, even then, I still just had to keep showing up every day. And
well, just like we talked about, your parents are feeling the same fear, fear as well. So like everybody feels that. Everybody. For the dads, if they're like, hey, wife, you need to go listen to Laila. Plug yourself here.
Please do. Learning to Mom. I'm available wherever you're listening to this on. It's a good time. It's fairly big. I don't mean to like toot my own horn, but it's a good time over there. Learning to Mom.
Awesome.
Come hang out.
To Mom. We'll put some in the show notes.
Yep. It'll be down below.
But I also
subscribe.
Though, like I am the host. So
that's what we're doing. Like, I don't know anything. Yeah. Like we are here to facilitate the people who know what they're doing and know what they're talking about to answer the questions. That's why we get you on. You're not the host this time. You are
Well, I
the
hope you
SME,
guys
as we called it,
got
on
something
the
out of it.
subject matter expert, Laila, learning the mom.
So good.
Well, thanks so much for hopping on with us. Love what
Thanks,
you're doing.
guys.
Love that we're able to reconnect. It's fun. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
So good. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, Laila.
Daddy out! Dad!
It's a lot of lights, Dad.
You fathers will understand.
I told you he was an awesome dad.